Hi, my name is Robbie Robinson. Welcome back to 30 Days Till Salvation. Today I want to talk to you about forgiveness, um, how to look at it from a different perspective versus the usual way that we look at it today. One thing I want to point out is we need to understand where sin came from and how it affects our lives and how we handle it throughout our lives, then we can make it either a blessing or it can condemn us. So, we have always been subjected to and bombarded with uh, different situations that we would say that are good or bad. And the bad is usually what we focus on. Well, when we focus on the bad, it could be a treasure that can be stored in heaven, or it could be a burden that we carry with us that's heavy and drags us down. So, first of all, let's start back at when Adam and Eve were in the garden. God sent them there, and of course, when Adam was there by himself, God said it was not good that he be alone. So we all know the story where he put Adam to sleep, then he used a rib to create Eve. Well, the two together before Satan come into the picture um, was a perfect world. You could practically say it was heaven on earth. God was there, and the earth had no sin at the time. And when uh, God put him there, uh, he gave him an instruction not to eat of the forbidden fruit from a tree. Well, that sounds pretty simple. And it sounds like, why did they fail at such a simple little order? Well, today we live in an environment that we see people that are deceptive, that they lack integrity, people that have no self-awareness as to how they present themselves. Um, we see all peoples in vast variety, and we have learned through being alive on this earth that with sin throughout our whole lives that who you can trust and who you can't. And in Adam and Eve's situation, they were never exposed to that. They were people that were totally trusting because they had never been exposed to a lie. And so Satan, being the first one, the father of lies, went into the garden and he, tricked Eve into taking a bite of the forbidden fruit. I can't recall the passages exactly as what they were written and how they were said, but in a sense, um, it was talking about that the biting of the fruit would give you knowledge of right and wrong. And he used that as a tool to persuade Eve into taking a bite of the apple. Well, for us, You know, we could say we don't need to do that because we know what the outcome would be. Hindsight's always 20/20, but for them there was no hindsight. So never being exposed to a lie before, they partaken of the apple or whatever fruit it was. And then lo and behold, sin has been introduced into our lives. So I look at it a little differently with Adam and Eve. You know, people think, well, you know, that was kind of stupid or blah, blah, blah. But, you know, and it looks pretty simple. But to me, in a sense, they were kidnapped and held bondage. You know, they were stolen from God at that point. You know, you know, the most terrible thing has happened. And, you know, and then we're the product of that. You know, we're all been hostage and taken away from God. And we're just, I'm not saying we're victims, but we have choices that can hurt us now. Where before, you know, if we hadn't never had Satan walked into the Garden of Eden, there would have never been any sin. So now let's get on down the road here and talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness is a tool that we have that we can utilize for other people, you know, and we look at people and we judge them and we take into consideration and blah, blah, blah. Life goes on and we understand where we're at in life, and we look at it and say, you know, some people are unteachable, some people are teachable, some people do things that they shouldn't, and some people try to do the things that they should, and some fall short, some excel. You know, there's all kinds of people in this world. But forgiveness is pretty hard for some people. And God says to love the person and hate the sin. So we have to look at the sin as separate from the person. So it's and I think it's a lack of understanding. People have been subjected to this world their entire lives. They've been around certain people and been influenced and been taught, and some haven't had the teachings that others have had, and I think it has a big influence on their lives. And we as Christians need to learn that forgiveness is something that is a part of who we are. And that's pretty tough because we've had people do things to us all our lives, and we have been taken advantage of. We have been subjected to physical things and mental things and all the different things that life can throw at us. And they're hard, and they're cruel. And for you as a person is to take these things and keep them and give them to God. And what that does is when you forgive the person and you don't take blame on them and you don't put pity, you know, you don't take revenge and you just let what has happened happen and you give it to God, essentially what you're doing is storing treasures in heaven. Now, the payment on that varies from person to person. God says that one person might hand a thirsty man a glass of water. That gift from the man that hands that other man a glass of water could be greater than a doctor that saves a life of a living person on an operating table. It's it's just God provides the gift and the treasures, and it's not for us to decide how much or what we should get from God, in heaven from Him. It's a gift, and how much or anything of that nature. So, in a sense, there's no scale of value on earth for the good and the bad things that we do. Well, the good things that we do. So, forgiveness, we have to look at the sin and possibly understand that they just don't understand what they're doing. Jesus said, "Forgive them, Lord, for they don't know what they've done," when He was on the cross. So in a sense, we have to look at other people and do the same for them.